Worst.
All right. I felt there was a little bit of a struggle with the art this time because, there's certain themes to this chapter, and like I didn't want to draw Charity pinning down uh Alec, and because I don't know, it's hard to make that look like a sibling rivalry.
Yeah,
And then like the same thing with the next. I was like, I think it comes off okay because Alec is making bored, annoyed face.
yeah. I think it works out okay.
Okay.
But I mean, I can see the problem. That is like she is kind of giving sexy face at him. I don't know.
Well, that's just her face though. She can't help it.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But oh man, I love that you can tell how important the under eye bags are. You had like multiple attempts to see like, should I make them giant?
Well, because I always end up drawing them like the shape of mine, and then I'm like, most people don't have those. It's really like when you're an artist, like a lot of your natural inclinations will lean your drawings more towards your face because like that's the one that you're most familiar with. Um, so you kind of have to I kind of have to think about like, oh, actually, other people just have normal eye bags that don't go down their entire face like I do.
I think I may have similarly
Yeah, I think you
impressive
and I
ones.
have those similar like they go like all the way down your cheek, and then like they're, I don't know, like I always thought they were normal eye bags, but then like when people are usually talking about eye bags, they're talking more about this Alec face. So I had to switch it up a bit. He was just looking a little not enough pretty boy with the full
I think
set.
I think I've been like, oh, did I? I didn't post the link. I've just been. I got really distracted by our conversation.
That's all
Um,
right. 2 plus 4 times 5, and Vale are here, so hello.
so let's post that. Okay. But I think I've been misimagining a lot of stuff because I think I've been imagining eye bags like you and me have, rather than.
Yeah, and I think that typically they're the actual bottom lid of the eye rather than like the skull shape.
Yeah, I think I'm just because I'm a weird gaunt person, so like,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It's all right. Well, so yeah, a lot of my characters end up having those big eye bags that you and I have, but it's not really proportionally accurate. So I'm trying to, focus on that more, focus on some different eye shapes and that kind of thing. It's always I think the nose is always the hardest for me to adjust because I noticed that like people's nose bridges are a lot more versatile than you would think. I always draw my nose bridges naturally, like how Alex is here, and that's like how mine is. Like it's just once it comes off the face, it's totally straight all the way down. But most people have some like they have a bump at the top of the nose bridge a lot of the time,
I think
like a
I think mine in it has the indent as though I were a glasses wearer, but I'm not. So I
yeah.
think that just has a natural indent at the top, and then there's a
Mhm.
little bit of fall off at the very bottom, rather than having like a perfect line.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But
crazy
yeah,
stuff.
it's just dumb things I have to think about when I draw people's faces. I'm like, ugh, I guess maybe they have normal eye bags, and maybe they have a different nose bridge, and I got to give both Alec and Ch Cherish beautiful, luscious lips.
Yep, yep. Um, cool. So, we got the high driving as always. We've got Greg showing up, and then Vale apologizing for bailing on part of the audiobook listen. Spicy stuff.
Oh, the
Um,
drama.
yeah. And then, as a reminder for the audience participation question, it is, and it was a bit of a complicated one, so I'll read the expansion on it later. But if you were a cape, what do you think you would be your crutch slash Achilles heel? What would either emotionally or physically completely halt your ability to use your power or act? And that was David's question. Um, so I thought it was pretty interesting, and I think we already have a few answers in the Discord that we'll get to later.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Vale says, I don't think I followed the question exactly, but I like my answer anyway. I deserve partial credit. It's okay, Vale. You don't have to, like.
You always get full credit. It's a
Yeah.
participation. It's audience participation points.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and we got a comment the last week that David and I noticed on a previous episode, and I hadn't noticed it for like 4 months, but it was about the layout of the homepage of the YouTube. So then David and I cleaned that up, and now it shows like um, the most recent live streams, and then like a playlist of all the episodes from the start, and then I think the audio or the audiobook chapter that I had narrated. So
Oh, good. Yeah, that'll be good to keep organized.
yeah, I'm gonna try and stay on top of stuff like that more. I fell far behind on the comments, and David showed me how an easier way to find all the ones I haven't responded to for all my videos. So
Nice.
yeah, cool. Um, Going down to themes. Um, We've got unhealthy family dynamics. I thought there were like it's across the board, but we got a bunch of different types.
True.
Yeah. We got the vassals for blood family, who have such a toxic dynamic that Alec is his direct sibling, Sherry, is trying to murder him, like torture murder him by like sending him to the other nine, and he's just trying to normal murder her. But it's not a great.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a reveal that like Alec is the well-adjusted one who is like fuck this lifestyle and
Right.
like just left the situation and like even other people who are leaving like Sherry are mm, not in the best place, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. Greg makes a good Brad Neely ref. Unhealthy family dynamics, all kinds.
Yeah.
And then we got Bonesa, who wants Amy to join her and live as a found family, who like their main life is to murder people like Alec. Uh, like maybe that would be one of her like first kills.
Maybe.
I guess Pagoda's her very first, but.
Yeah, but that Mm, I don't know. She like feels pretty bad about it, but I'm like, I would feel like I did them service.
Yeah, because like Mark does the same thing, but way more
Yeah,
direct in just a minute.
yeah. He's like, okay, I'm going to mercy kill this person now.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, so we'll see all that unhealthy family dynamics, and then we've got
hmm
social disconnection. Cherish has like no one in her life, and then Amy feels like she has no one in her life. They are like completely unmoored from healthy attachment, I would say.
Yep.
So yeah,
Well, I can get into it.
let's do
So
it.
we start out. Um, a teenager is striding through the streets of Brockton Bay while enjoying one of the newest top 40 hits in her headphones. And she's just thinking about how cool she is that she stole these headphones. I also stole my clothes and my laptop and my iPhone and my backpack. And she's just kind of like enjoying how like cool she you know, wandering around. But a man in military gear waves her down and he lets her know that there's pillagers and hooligans afoot that could possibly prey on a pretty young woman such as herself. Um, which the girl's really into and she tries to flirt with him and then I did write here when she leans into him and establishes Kino, which I
Yeah.
don't remember writing.
I thought that was so funny. I laughed when I read that.
She leans in and establishes Kino because Sherry's basically a pickup artist. He just like zips up her jacket forcefully and offers her directions to a shelter. Um, we know from reading the chapter that like she has like this emotion power and I have no idea because it doesn't say whether she's using it here, but I feel like she like tried to use it and then he like whatever thing inside him just like completely rejected it because it's such a weird response to like a teenager flirting with you to be like obviously like saying no is the right call, but he like zips up her jacket to like stop her from continuing.
Yeah.
um, but I don't know, because be
I
just
was it's
I
weird
wonder
because
that just
I kind of thought she was messing with him without using powers at that point.
uh-huh.
Like,
And it could be that as well, and then she just gets salty about it. But like it makes me wonder just because like the start of this chapter is like a further third person perspective. Like I mean, I guess she's thinking to herself, but like they just keep calling her like the girl or the teenager. Like she doesn't refer to herself as her name or
yeah.
anything.
And part of why I thought that too about the power is that she specifically listens to the music to block out hearing the people's emotions or whatever.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So she's just crazy. But he's pushing for her to get out of the streets because it's dangerous and it's like illegal at this time. Like they have like a lockdown, what's it called? Like a curfew or whatever for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And but she finally agrees to take a ride in his Jeep to her destination. And I just pulled this stupid quote. Do you mind turning off your music? I like it, she says. I hate silence. Well, I'm not about to deny anyone their coping mechanisms. Like,
Right.
okay, dude. Okay, random military dude. Good for you. um, so the girl, let's just call her Cherish since we don't know her name yet, lets the man know that as he starts to drive, that she's actually in town because of the Leviathan attack. And she is with the Slaughterhouse Nine.
Oh.
And he's like, don't make that joke. And she's like, I'm not. And his immediate reaction is to pull his gun, which I did think was funny. I think I saw Greg say something similar in the audio listen where like it's great that like nobody doubts when somebody's like I'm in the Slaughterhouse Nine because like nobody would joke about that. It just like is so taboo that like if somebody says that they must be fucking crazy.
Yeah, yeah. He had said, a small detail I like, there's no hesitation to believe someone when they say they're part of the Nine. The real Nine aren't shy about admitting it, and people who lie about it when the Nine are around are begging to meet a sticky end. So,
Yeah. Um Vale did mention that this chapter proves Wildbow hates music. I do think that it proves he hates like popular music or whatever because it seems like the whole time Cherish is like, "Oh, music is my way of understanding the world," but then she also listens to like the most shitty and like offensive shallow pop song that you could be listening to.
yeah.
Um But yeah, so the man goes for his gun, and Cherish uses her power to literally fill him with mortal fear, and then she twists his emotions around to make him compliant. And with her newfound puppet, she has him swap seats with her and peels out. Cherish senses the soldiers who had taken this guy's shift are following them, so she fills the soldier with suspicion and paranoia. And he's like, this is his perfect time. And so he aims the gun at her because he's quite suspicious and paranoid, and she hasn't been great so far. But she quickly corrects that and gives him like a familiar feeling towards him. Um, so when Cherish pulls the Jeep to a stop, her plan comes to fruition as the man exits the car and shoots the two other soldiers who'd been following them, and presumably himself.
I
I
got
don't
the
think she
impression
mentions
that
it.
they all three were shooting at each other. So
Yeah.
yeah.
2 plus 4 times 5 said, to be fair, Wildbow is also death. Yeah, but I think he knows he's making fun of of Cherish and this song in this scene.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Cherish just kind of like thinks about Brockton Bay for a bit, and we get this like cool reference to all of the people that are being visited. So she was actually the one who scoped everyone out. Like she just like felt everybody's emotions in the area, and then the people that others were interested in are the ones that they went to go visit, like in the previous chapters or whatever. So she says, the buried girl, the arrogant geek, the dog lover, the daydreamer, the warlord, the scaredy cat, the broken assassin, and the crusader, which I think most of these are self-explanatory. The crusader, I can only assume is purity.
I think so. It's a little confusing because obviously there's only 7 other members, and aside from
Mm-hmm.
the Crusader or like Warlord, I assume is Hookwolf also, but you could like say that he's like I'm a Crusader. I don't know. So
Yeah,
there's a
I
little
think he's the
ambiguity there, but
warlord,
yeah,
and then Purity must be the crusader. So she's like including Purity in this for some reason,
it's like weird because
because
she's
she,
like not a candidate, but
yeah, she's not a candidate, but I guess when she felt out, Jack specifically was like, oh, I wanna go and fuck with Charity, or not Charity, Purity. 2 plus 4 times 5 says Hookwolf probably sees himself more as a warlord than a crusader. Yeah, I was thinking that
mm-hmm.
like the warlord aspect is the specific part that Shatterbird was interested in. So,
Yeah.
um, but Cherish is also here to visit someone she had picked out in Brockton Bay. They have their building armed with 2 soldiers who Cherish commands to kill themselves, and imbues them with the right emotional ingredients to get the job done. Then she does the same to the soldiers that she can sent inside the building. So once inside, Cherish greets Jean-Paul and is corrected that it's actually Alec now, and he greets Cherie and is corrected that it's actually Cherish. So they both assimilated.
Yeah.
um,
So Cherish is
yes,
like her actual like full name rather than like her cape name. In my mind, for some reason, I always sort of mistook it as being like her name was Cherry and then Cherish was what she was called as a cape. But
yeah, I mean, I think that's what is implied here. So it might have been like retconned or whatever. It seems like she uses it like she was going by Sherry and then wanted like a name that could be her name and her cape name.
gotcha.
So this is like a double slash triple reveal because I guess it's only a double reveal. Cherish was actually coming to visit her brother Alec, uh, which is revealing for both of them. But Alec is also using like his full power on a bunch of soldiers in his area.
Well,
So
I think
like
he's got mercenaries from Coil and then 3 specific people he's using his full power on.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, so it's like a big change since like last time we saw him using his power where they were like, oh, it's like totally fine because it's this one exception and like Sophia sucks and she needs to be taken care of, da, 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 da. Da. And now it's just like, no, I guess that might be another theme of this chapter, like breaking like a internal boundary, and then it's just like that's the norm now. You can't really like head back after that. So
Yeah, because
I
this
don't
is
know.
only even a couple days later, right? This is like
Yeah.
maybe the next night or something from when they grabbed Sophia.
It's gotta be. I think it's a few more than that because they make their.
They.
I think they take like a week to plan their takeover.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Cherish TLDR's regent about the years since he left. Their dad causing problems as usual and kidnapping celebrities, and then having the gang chasing down Cherish after she tries to leave. So she decided to kill Hatchetface and take his spot in the Slaughterhouse Nine. Regent proclaims that he's going to win in this fight since he's built up an immunity to her power, and she's like built up the opposite to his because as we learned before, like once Alec has taken control of somebody, it's like much easier for him to grab control again.
Yeah. Also,
It's,
interestingly, I think that the brothers that were sent after her are the only two who are, I think, older than her, because she's one of the
mhm.
oldest of the Vasil kids, and they're two of the ones we don't hear from in the future when other, like, like in when there's other siblings mentioned, we like never hear about these guys.
Yeah, I wonder if they were kind of taken, I don't know, like they take their dad's side or whatever in the situation. Um,
Hmm.
so they might, you know, they might have been lumped in with him. But when he threatens to take over Cherish's body, she lets him know that she actually keeps a bong. I mean to say bomb. Um, she keeps
Bomb.
she keeps a bomb planted on herself that will go off if she doesn't routinely call a specific number to reset the timer. And uh-oh, her phone is dead. Oh my gosh. Regent thinks this is really stupid, but she's like pretty confident that it's a great idea. I mean, it's a great idea in that it works, but it is like stupid. Like that's the thing is that Cherish has like she does things that technically are like solving a problem, but they're like super stupid and convoluted.
Yeah.
Like the thing that she's doing with Alec, which we'll get into for in a second.
She's pretty. I feel like she's kind of like a dumb character overall, and like
Yeah,
it's not bad that she's dumb, but like she is.
she just is dumb. I don't know. She's got problems, but she Cherish is able to feel Alex shifts in emotions even though they're like way his are way more muted than like any normal reasonable person's would be. So she feels like a sudden change and they both go at each other and start to wrestle. But before Alec is able to grab a gun from one of his soldiers' pockets, Cherish gets him pinned down, featured here. She lets him know that things got even worse with their dad because of Alec leaving. And in retaliation, she's nominated him for the Slaughterhouse Nine. Same thing. Like there, she could have just gone after him with the Slaughterhouse Nine, but instead she like made this stupid ass plan.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's really goofy. She's just kind of I guess she's like a go big or go home kind of lady. But she knows the rest of the gang won't want Alec on the team, so the tests will be even more deadly than usual. Alec, correct king as always, lets her know that that's fucking stupid, but she's made up her mind. she threatens to go after his team if he goes after her. I guess it's like they're kind of the opposite in the way where he's minimum effort for maximum reward and she's maximum effort for maximum reward.
She she does like her power. I don't know how it compares to his power in some ways, but she just has to do so much. It feels like it's so complicated to use her power. I don't know.
Yeah.
She has to push all
Uh,
these different buttons to get like any little response, and then anyway, go on.
Vale said, I wonder if there are any other characters that do things that work but may be suspect at second glance. And then Greg said just normal sibling hijinks. I mean, like, yeah, this is what it'd be like if siblings got like crazy emotion powers, to be honest. It definitely not unrealistic. I pulled this quote from Alec here. You just screwed me over, Sherry. Don't know why you did it, but I think you did a pretty fucking good job at it. You trying to be like Jack, trying to act like him, pretend you have a place there? Rest assured, you screwed yourself 10 times as bad as you screwed me. Um, I feel like this is like really insightful for Alec. Like, not to say that we haven't like seen him be intelligent before, but I think that being around his siblings specifically makes him probably more volatile, and so he'll put in more effort into like insulting.
Yeah, it's
He kind of
also
does just clock her multiple times during this chapter.
yeah, like she can't like do a lot to him, and I think that she's thinking that killing his soldiers, which I mean, honestly, she did just like kill off four of his subordinates, so she is pretty successful in like fucking with his operations and stuff. And if he actually
Hmm.
liked those guys at all, would be a pretty big deal. Although I
Yeah.
guarantee you, he doesn't even know their names.
Yeah.
But then like yeah, he almost gets her. Yeah.
Yeah. But Cherish takes the soldier's phone and dials her secret kill safe number to disable the bomb and heads out. So
Yeah.
I guess her job here is done. She just wanted to let him know that he's nominated and it's because he's a piece of shit who ruined her life or whatever. I don't know if you want to do the character reviews for this one now or if you still want to do it at the end because
Yeah,
like
let's do it for now because it's like such a split from the others.
yeah, it's like there's only the two characters in this chapter. I mean, like talk about a little bit about Jack. Like he mentions that, like, oh, like this is the kind of shit that Jack does. Like wants to play complicated mind games or whatever.
Oh, that's
But
another theme is that both of these characters are doing like a Jack thing.
yeah, they're both like specifically trying to act like Jack. Um, his Bonesaw kind of does a better job in it. I don't
I
really
think
know it.
Bonesaw is like the top tier at doing the whole Jack thing.
Yeah.
But we can also like touch on the arc stuff just because I only have one paragraph on this. But it's the church chapter is pretty good and so far has the biggest reveals. We got some tantalizing stuff from the Noel and see the interior or tantalizing stuff with like the Noel reveals and stuff, and then
Hmm.
we see the interior lives of Elle and Rachel. But this chapter, we learn about Alec's backstory, that his evil sister is going to be one of the Slaughterhouse Nine. Ramping
Ah,
up the drama and tension. We also revealed what Burnscar was referring to when she said that the Nine had a new member who can track anyone. Although
yeah.
I'll tell you what I'd do with that if I was Burnscar is I would go around the corner with Cherish and totally murk her and then fly away.
Yeah, that's true. We learn, so we meet Cherish, and she is interesting. Like I said, it's like maximum effort for maximum reward. I didn't mention it, but at the end of the chapter, she reveals that she's been like attempting to classically condition her peers in the Slaughterhouse 9 to like be really into her and not want to murder her as much.
Yeah, but
Um,
I don't think it's working. Like generally, they don't
I
seem to have a
She
positive view of
definitely
her.
seems to think it's working, despite the fact that their emotions for her have not changed. So I really don't know what she's on.
Yeah.
But I guess she thinks that like she's able to like if she was away or whatever, they'd have a withdrawal or whatever, and then they would want to keep her around. But I don't know. She's definitely like in her weird manipulation era. And honestly, I don't think it's going great.
Yeah. I think that she's swinging really big on a lot of
Mhm.
stuff. It's
Mhm.
it's like we'll see her pitted directly against Tattletale later, but they're like similarly swinging way too big at certain points. Just Tattletale
Mhm.
happens to have a
To
better
hit.
sense of things. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird because I mean, I guess they have similar powers in the sense that they can both kind of sense emotions. Like I know that that's not actually Tattletale's power, but she can read body language and everything really well. That
Hmm.
kind of gives her that. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, she's successfully pushing people's buttons, but it doesn't seem like she has the ability to anti-push people's buttons.
I was gonna say, I think it's pretty prophetic when she's like, what can I do with this paranoia and suspicion? And then instantly the gun points at her. It's just like, you know that that's gonna happen to you on a macro scale.
Yeah, I think she just is like not good with people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. She's a like like you said, she's just kind of dumb. So she's like not a super interesting character, except for the fact that she has like a really, really like cool power with an incredible range.
Yeah. That's that's one thing is that like some powers are I'd say all of the Slaughterhouse 9 have powers that are like kind of off the charts in some way.
Hmm.
Like Jack is so in tune with his power that he can like read parahumans and like deal with them even if he's never met them before. And
Hmm.
you've got like Bonesaw who's like a crazy level tinker, honestly.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
you've
like
got
they call her the medical tinker, and it's true.
yeah, yeah. And then there's like Siberian, who's like stupidly like both defensively and
Invincible.
offensively powerful. Yeah.
Can you
Um,
believe that Hook Wolf thought he could take them all
it's
at
so
once?
he's so stupid.
He's
Yeah.
so stupid. He's like, the only problem would be the Siberian. No, that's not the only problem, but that is like problem number one.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Oh my God.
Bills. Yeah. But
But
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Um, as far as Alec goes, I mean, I think that he's annoyed. He's like definitely upset here because like he talks more than he ever does, kind of like like I said, he's like clocking her left and right and like everything you're doing is stupid just so you know. Um and I don't know. I wish that they like she talked a little bit more about his emotions, but we do learn on a more specific level like he does have emotions, but they're like real damp. And she doesn't ever describe him feeling fear or anything. She describes he has like a feeling of concentration when he's thinking or like trying to use his power, and then like confidence was the other one that she mentioned. I don't think she mentions any other emotions.
Let's see here. Confidence.
He gets the confidence when he's like
Personal
about
pride and
to go
confidence.
for the gun.
Mm-hmm. Oh wait, sorry, I'm on the wrong spot. The thrum of confidence. Yeah. It's when he puts his attention on the woman.
The woman, yeah, some lady with a gun that they are like playing tug of war with, basically.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
He's like affecting her body and then she's trying to like take over her emotions, so neither of them can actually really do anything.
Yeep, yeep.
But yeah, I feel like this reveal is like I think it's like triple good because you're like Alec is going full in with his power. You learn that his sister is in the Slaughterhouse Nine, and you get to learn more about his backstory and everything about their like abusive dad and stuff. Um, and apparently that like the dad was really upset that Alec left, and so upset that he kind of like doubled down on keeping everyone in the family. Um, and then what else was it? Oh, I feel like it's a surprise because when you start hearing like, oh, they're recruiting people, the first thought would be Alec, but then it turns out to be Bitch, and you're like, they can't possibly recruit two people that we, from the Undersiders that we are already familiar with, but they do.
They do, and like the rest of the city for the rest of time is permanently convinced that they also tried to recruit Skitter, even though they literally don't.
Yeah, they just think like, oh, well, they recruited two people, and then the other thing is like it looks really bad on them that they got two people recruited, but Alex wasn't even a legitimate recruit. Like she's just doing it to fuck with him, and she knows that he will be torture murdered from this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
Alec.
I thought he was fun this chapter. Really, really got to show off some one-liners and things.
Yeah, it's good because he's just like strictly the best person in the room. In
Yeah.
a
And there's only two people in a room, and all the other people are mindless zombies. It's just
yeah.
he does turn into like the hero. I think that's all I have to say about those two. I think it's a good chapter. It's just not as like when you're reading it for the first time, you're like, whoa, I learned all this stuff about their family. But like on second and third reads, it doesn't super. There's not a lot more to pull from it.
I decided that I basically have like a 5-3 split where it's like above the line, below the line of the like quality spectrum for these eight, and this is
Mm-hmm.
the bottom good one.
Yeah. I agree. It's like what you need to get from a chapter, and it was enjoyable to read, except that you're in Cherish's head and she's just annoying.
Yeah, yeah. And then I
I'll
joked
go.
here that I've yet to hear a version of the song from this chapter in any of the audiobook stuff. That's good.
I think it's supposed to be, and it's so funny because when you're reading the lyrics, like I was reading them and I was like, come on, like whatever. But then I could think of actual songs like Sweet But Psycho that like have the exact same messaging and like most of the same verbiage, and I was like, okay, you're right, Wildbow. There are lots of popular songs like this.
It's just like the way that the sentences are worded. I like can't imagine a tune that it would sound good to. Basically.
Well, like 2 plus 4 times 5 says, Wildbow is deaf, but I know he has
Yeah.
cochlear implants,
I
so
kind of thought he
he
could
like
hear enough through that to have a sense of music, you know?
well, yeah, and the thing is, like, a lot of deaf people still can like listen to music or whatever, but probably wouldn't have like a great understanding of like lyrically what's happening. But the fact that he has
Oh,
cochlear
yeah.
implants, he does know what's happening lyrically. And so I'm not exactly sure what kind of a song this is. I wish that. I don't know. I think someday we'll have to come up with something for it.
I had thought
We can
about
commission Scarlett.
that's I was literally gonna say I had thought about that, and we'll have another opportunity because this song is played in Ward in like a
Yeah.
flashback, and so in the
I
far
think they
future,
I think they play it another time as well that I might remember.
yeah, I'm
It's like it's just such a dumb song. And both the characters that listen to it are both like, "Hmm, this is a pretty good song."
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Oof.
all right. If you don't have anything else, I'll get into the best chapter of this whole arc of
Oh,
my favorite character.
well,
I
well,
don't
wait. Before we
Okay, okay.
do get into that chapter, I just wanted to say in
Okay.
the power stuff, for her power, I really do think the way that it's shown is really cool. I didn't pull out the long quotes, but it's like different emotions are like different discordant sounds that aren't necessarily like it is music, in the strictest
Yeah.
sense, but it doesn't sound very good.
No, she just calls them music. It's like whatever her interpretation of it. But I do like the fact that she, rather than pushing emotions like a lot of other characters will see, like Victoria kind of like pushes an emotion, and so does Gallant. And have we seen any other
Well,
people with emotion powers?
it's weird from Victoria's perspective. She doesn't know what emotion she's putting out there. She just knows
Yeah.
she's pushing her aura, which is a
Yeah.
really weird effect because she can't tell what she's doing to people like at all.
Yeah, she can't tell until she sees their reaction. But yeah, and so it was fun to see Cherish, who describes like finding, she like has to get in and then find the emotion there that exists within them and then pull on it or like twist it in some way.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
think that's really fun and interesting because I think that's more, it would be a lot more effective than like a blaster power like Gallant's, where it's not coming from within, it's like being thrown at you. And so you might be able to overcome it in an easier way.
Yeah, and we see like it seems from the outside perspective, not seeing Gallant that often, but it seems like he is not as good at this as like Cherish in terms of like he was kind of just like
Throwing things at people.
yeah, that's what I was trying to find a good way to say that, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Gallant was great with his power. He was more of a leader because of his one-on-one emotional abilities rather than his fighting abilities.
Right, yeah. Anyway,
Um,
I think
okay,
we are
cool.
probably good to go into it. I just wanted to talk about that because it's like that is one aspect that Wildbow definitely grows on a lot during this book, and then I feel like is very good at in Ward is like
Yeah.
portraying the powers in interesting ways as well
Mhm.
as incorporating that into somebody's like personal voice as a character.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that makes it a lot more enjoyable, even though we're in Cherish's head.
Right.
So, um, poor Amy has found, quote unquote, found, like she found a letter on her mom Carol's dresser and decides to look at it. Mm, is it her fault that she looked at it? Kind of.
Kind of, but I would never blame
Kind of.
her. Not in a
I
million years.
Listen, I will blame her for that. That's what Amy can take accountability for in this chapter.
Okay. I just thought you were gonna
No, no,
go
no,
clean slate Amy, where she did nothing wrong.
no, no, no. I might. It's hard to do it this chapter because she about to do something wrong. Amy found Dragon's letter to her mom, Carol, explaining that Amy may be in potential danger, in a plan of vengeance aimed towards her father, Marquis. And as we
Oh
remember,
shit.
Amy and Victoria had previously not. They'd previously known that Amy's dad was a supervillain, but not specifically who it was. So, as you can imagine, this news is quite upsetting. Um, yeah, as what she knows about Marquis is that he's heartless and callous, is how he's been described, and she's anxious that this is being reflected in herself. And she thinks back to like the struggle that she talked about with Gallant, the fact that she's like really having trouble like going to the hospital and never wanting to do it, and like even thinking like, well, maybe if I just mess it up one time, then it won't be my responsibility anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
I was gonna say,
but
as a dumb aside, do you think it's
mhm.
confusing at all that her two dads are Mark and Marquis?
Oh my God. What if Mark and Marquis ki- ki- kissed?
Kissed? The
I do
Marquis?
feel like, yeah. No, I don't think that's that confusing. I do think that like I've made fun of I've made fun of Wildbow names a lot, and so I do appreciate getting a Marquis in the mix.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it's a bit weird because it's like the only reason we don't know Marquis's name, I think, is because they they probably do say it. I guess I just don't know it because I don't know it. Uh,
His first name, like
yeah,
his
his normie
city
name.
name.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just assumed that it was also Marquis.
Because that's
But
like a
if that's like
title.
yeah,
And
maybe it is
it could
just
be
Mark.
called like you could be named like Lord, but like would you be?
I don't know. I feel like King. I don't know. I don't know.
I guess
Prince is a
King
name,
is a
isn't it?
name, and so is
King is a
Prince.
name. Prince is a name. Marquis could have just
Marquis
come
could,
from
that's
a.
just his name.
I've always imagined Marquis as Hispanic, but I don't think that they ever say that. But like he just gives like, oh, no women and children. Like I don't know. He gives like a
Like a
cool
Zorro
like.
vibe.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like fun. I just will always assume that he's Hispanic, with a ginger daughter, because
Well,
relatable.
yeah.
But anywho, none of that, because just as she's thinking about how fucked up she is inside, Carol interrupts. Impeccable timing, Carol, and lets her know that she and Glory Girl are going out to check out some howling. Whoa, it's a reference to something that we already saw. Isn't that cool?
Ooh. Um,
And
that's something I'm
go
also
ahead.
gonna briefly touch on at the end. Is I didn't write for it, but I think all the chapters can sort of be lined up in a timeline, so that's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah, I like it when they reference something that you already saw and you're like, "Oh my God, I was there."
Yeah.
It just makes it more fun.
Well, in the
So,
previous chapter, the guy was like something about fires downtown, which was the burn scar fight.
yeah.
So
Um, but she's gonna need her to look after Mark while they're out. So Amy and Carol have an awkward, silent exchange before Carol turns and leaves. Like they both clearly want to say something to each other, but then she just leaves. So Mark, since he's been injured in the Leviathan attack, is in a semi-vegetative state, which I had to Google if that's an offensive thing to say, and I don't think it is. That's like this. That's just what it's called, right?
yeah, I mean he's gonna sit in his chair and veg out.
He's vegging out. He has a TV addiction now, but he, because of his TV addiction, he has lost most of his motor skills, muscle memory, language, and more. Uh, but he does give Amy a gentle smile as she comes into the room. Victoria and Carol head out with a goodbye for Mark and no goodbye for Amy.
Aw. I kind of thought to
Aww.
myself on this part, like, I wasn't sure if the agnosia later and the amnesia here were like one of them inspired the other. Like,
Uh-huh.
if he had been looking up, like, oh, I wonder what the details are for like a realistic portrayal of X, and then found
Mhm.
interesting information about Y that led him to write
Mhm.
the other scenario.
Yeah. I do like that Mark is like just kind of still sweet because you hear from people that like people they love have brain injuries and then their like personality is different or whatever. It seems like he has the same personality, he just is not able to function and like physically and then like can't remember things. So I don't know. It just is like even sadder that he's just like smiling at Amy, and I think like Carol like kisses him on the head and he smiles at her too. It's just so sad.
Yeah, I really like
Um
Mark. I think he's one of my underrated characters.
yeah, I think he's just like a genuinely good person, which you don't usually see.
Yeah.
Um but yeah, they leave with no goodbye for Amy. And Amy thinks to herself, like, she knows that she was never initially wanted and had even overheard Carol saying as much to her sister. Oof. Mark tried his best, but his depression would get in the way of any, like, semblance of consistency. So the only one who truly accepted her was Victoria, and now she is really resentful towards her because Amy is drawing that boundary at working on brains. Greg says a non-problematic faith. That certainly is different. It's not my preference, okay? Um, but Amy's been committing herself to taking care of Mark as much as she can when she's not at the hospital. But couldn't, none of this is making up for refusing to heal him. And Amy knows now after the letter that she's even more like her father in the way that they're both following like this strict personal code that they refuse to break. So, at least she can like see she has some idea of where these kind of traits are coming from.
I found my father, and he is just as dumb as I.
He's just as dumb as me. He loves rules. It's funny too
They're
because
such
like
nerds.
our main character Taylor also loves rules, but she is much more willing to break them
Sometimes
in
you gotta break a few
uh
rules.
sometimes you gotta break a few eggs a uh to make a war zone, right? So
Something like that.
Mark asks for a glass of water, and Amy heads to the kitchen. And she's came to the decision that she needs to run away. Unfortunately, as she heads back, someone else has joined Mark in the living room. A young girl in a soft Alice in Wonderland cosplay is covered in spatters of blood and staring at Mark. And Amy greets her as Bonesaw. I was really excited. I feel like Bonesaw is like the character that like everybody references like every single chapter up until this point when you see her and you're like so excited. Like there's so much anticipation for the Bonesaw reveal.
Well, I feel like she is like all of the Slaughterhouse Nine have their mystique and they all have their own thing, but Bonesaw's like the Slaughterhouse Nine member almost.
Yeah, like Jack's the original member or whatever, but it seems like she's been around one of the longest.
Yeah.
And she has a lot of clout, and we'll learn later that Bonesaw is part of what makes like the Slaughterhouse Nine so possible. I was reading the comments a couple chapters ago, and one person was annoyed that like it didn't make sense that these people wouldn't have just been sniped down by now without any kind of like armor or whatever. And Will learned that Bonesaw does just like imbue people's bodies with like built-in armor and shit if they're on the team. So I think that like really really easily like fixes the like quote unquote plot hole. It's not a plot hole, it's just information you don't
Right.
have yet.
I think I'm trying to think about it, and I think that Bonesaw has, unless like Crawler was part of the group or something, I think
hmm
Bonesaw has outlived all previous members of the Slaughterhouse Nine aside from Jack.
Oh, what about the Siberian? Are they newer?
Siberian, I think, is newer than Bonesaw. I
Okay.
think.
I
Because I
think.
don't think the Siberian was always with the Slaughterhouse Nine. I think
Yeah,
it
they
was
were
like
just
an
doing their own
independent
thing.
thing for a while.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. So I just was really excited the first time I read this to like finally meet Bonesaw and see what was happening there. Um, but Amy looks around for Bonesaw's minions and looks behind her to see a frightening Hatchet Face, who we will remember has the power to cancel out superpowers in a given range, and also was murdered by Cherish. So that's weird.
That's so strange.
It's so weird that he's there, isn't it? Maybe Cherish was lying about being in the Slaughterhouse Nine.
Hmm, I don't know.
Um,
We'll see.
Mark urges Amy to run, but as she throws open the front door, another hatchet face is blocking the other side. The first hatchet face explodes, and Bonesaw gleefully introduces her newest creation, Hack Job. So it's like a Quirrell and Voldemort situation where Oni Lee's like face and body is just like attached to the back of the Hatchet Face.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. Does she say that he's the newest creation or one of the older creations? Because she did a much better job. He must have been the newest one because it was Oni Lee, huh? And he
Yeah,
just died.
yeah.
He just died like yesterday.
And Hatchet Face also died recently because like I think that she says that like the stuff she was doing to keep him alive
Hmm.
was like later on it'll be like wearing off because she combined him, so he like starts rotting throughout the next several like arcs. It's kind of funny.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Fucking gross, dude. I don't think he it must have been like a few weeks at least, like
Yeah, but it's
mm,
like Cherish is like super new to the group, I think.
okay. Yeah, so yikes. And Bonesaw starts explaining her project of putting them together, and Amy wonders if she's gonna be sharing their same fate. So Amy, sorry, after finishing her explanation of her project, Bonesaw waits expectantly for some positive feedback. She does like a little girl, like holds her hands together and like rocks on her feet, like smiling.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, she tells Amy that she thought you of all people would appreciate this the most because, they're so similar.
They're
Because they,
practically the same person. We're best friends
yeah,
already.
they're basically best friends. They're basically twins. They both work on the human body. Um, and two more of Bonesaw's mashup creations make their way into the room, along with like a dozen spider-like robot mechanism things. So Bonesaw confesses that she's been having trouble thinking up names for them, and she needs a name for something like a shrine, but with multiple floors. And Amy, helpful queen as always, offers pagoda. It's pagoda, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or
Yep.
pagoda?
No, it's Pagoda. As far as
Pagoda.
I
Okay.
understand.
Okay. And Bosaw is like, oh my gosh, you're so smart. We're gonna make a great team.
Mm-hmm,
It's like
mm-hmm.
the same situation as with Arms Master, where like he's in so much like not it's not even denial, but like it's so out of the realm of possibility that he's possibly being recruited that even like when he's straight up being told, he's like confused. And like Amy's going through the same thing here, where she's like, I can't wait to work together. We're gonna be a great team. And Amy's like, I can't believe she's gonna like make me into one of these monsters kind of thing. It's like not picking up what she's putting down at all.
Right, right, yeah.
So Amy starts thinking of ways to escape, and then she's like, "No, I think I just need to kill myself because I really don't want to be fucked up like these guys." Um, but she wants to use her power on Mark before she dies, and it's like still hitting that mental wall where she's like trying to plan for it but can't. Um, So Bonesaw tells Amy that she wants her on the team as her big sister. And Amy admits she's a pretty shitty sister. Bonesaw figures that she can learn and we can make all kinds of beautiful monstrosities together, and that she's happy to help Amy work through whatever she needs to so that they can, she can be her sister and they can have this future together. Um,
I mean,
Hack Job.
it's the only way, right?
Yeah, this is the only way. Hack Job pins Amy to the wall while someone named Murder Rat perches on the couch above Mark.
I'm always
Um,
perching on places too, so I get it.
she, she does she's like perched because I think her legs are backwards or whatever, so it like makes more sense for her to be above him.
And
Maybe not backwards, but
she's got like weird sword feet or something stupid. It's like,
she's
wow, Bonesaw, you need to just get it together.
she doesn't. It doesn't help make them very long lasting, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess she does want to just like do a project and then be able to
Well,
move on to.
but okay, so she talks. I forget. I think it's in this chapter, or maybe it's somewhere else, where she's trying to build up like dudes to strike off on her own when she has enough
Mhm,
like moblins, basically. Uh,
mhm.
and you know, the thing about this plan is that she expends like two here and like kind of wastes Hatchet Face as like a guy too because he starts rotting. So all of her progress is
Yep.
set back. What's she gonna do?
Yeah. What's she gonna do? Um. Hopefully nothing.
I don't know.
So Bonesaw explains that she's actually been taken on as Jack's protege, and she's working on fucking with minds rather than bodies. And she wants to find Amy's breaking point so that she can push past her personal limits and become the woman she's always been meant to, uh, by joining the Slaughterhouse Nine.
Hmm.
So Bonesaw calls off her minions and then has Murder Rat approach Amy, and tells her she needs to take down Murder Rat with her power, otherwise she's gonna cut her and Mark up. Amy touches Murder Rat's chest and she can feel both of the women making her up, that they're like still alive in there. Horrifying. She instead of mercy killing her though, she just like cuts the ligaments that are connecting
She mercy
her
wounds
body.
her.
She mercy wounds her. She cuts all the ligaments that are like connecting her body to the skeleton, like the metal frame that's inside of her. Um, and so Murder Rat collapses. And Bonesaw asks Amy if she's just against mercy killing, and Amy just doesn't say anything. It's like this. I don't think this
Amy's too
situation is gonna.
hardcore for mercy killing. She
She's
believes
too
that people
hardcore for
should
mercy killing.
survive and suffer.
So Bonesaw lets her know that if she's against killing in general, that's something else that they can work through together. Bonesaw's just so supportive, to be honest. I
Yeah. She's gonna be a good new sister for Amy.
she's definitely a good sister. Um, so Bonesaw sends up her next creation that Amy had named Pagoda. Again, she tries to sever his ligaments from the metal frame, but he's actually a double regenerator and just keeps healing even faster than she can cut him. And Bonesaw lets her know the only way to stop this one is to kill him dead. Uh, and Amy do kill him dead. Which you're not like, oh no, Amy killed a person. You're like, thank God that this person is not alive anymore.
Yeah, yep. I mean, it's like I feel like this one's like way creepier than like Murder Rat's creepy already. I don't think that would be
Hmm.
a pleasant sight, but there's something really heebie-jeebies inducing about the like gigantic, like, thick man whose neck leads to the torso of another regular-sized man. There's something I just don't
I
like about that.
I think I must have skimmed that explanation. I think, to me personally, Murder Rat is like the peak of horror. Like when they describe her face and her body, it's like that is like what is most scary to me. But there's something very like human centipede about the pagoda.
Yeah, I mean, they're both fairly affecting. I just, you
They're
know.
both, yeah.
Also, I had to call out.
Bonesaw sure does have an eye for these things.
That's very true. I had to call out Greg's joke here, and this is for all you Sonic fans. Greg says, "Survive and suffer, or live and learn."
um, So Bonesaw kind of starts getting upset that Amy still isn't going to join the team and asks her why she doesn't fix Mark. And when Amy tells her that her power doesn't work on brains, Bonesaw lets her know that she's wrong because she actually knows how powers work and where they come from like scanning people's brains, seemingly like giving them trigger events and like watching it.
Yeah, she's given people trigger events, and she even says later that she's given people, that she's, I think, given people second trigger events, but never while they were hooked up to equipment or
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah. So she knows that there's just a mental block. And it seems like Bonesaw thinks that like it's a mental block where her power is like trying to prevent her from working on brains, but we know from Amy's perspective it's literally just that she won't touch them. It's not, it is like very much easier to overcome than it would be if it was her power holding her back in any way.
Right, right. It's a self-imposed limitation rather than a standard, like, either powers or like Menten effect style.
Yeah, and it's like unclear to me whether Bonesaw knows that's the truth of the situation, like from Cherish's account, but I don't know. It seems like she like goes on a pretty genuine like tinker ramble about how like powers and brains and stuff work, and she's
It's
like pretty
weird.
confident that
It's weird that she makes the full assumption that, like, you definitely have to be able to affect the brain, because that actually does sound like a powers limitation to me. Like,
yeah,
she can't
yeah,
affect
it
dead
depends on
bodies even though there's not, like, that huge of a, like, it's hard to say where the life to death line is, but her power definitely makes a, like, judgment call of, like, well, this
yeah.
isn't material you can use anymore.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. But that I guess that's why she thinks when Amy says I can't affect brains, like she thinks it's a limitation of her power, but that they could
Overcome it.
overcome it
Yeah.
together. So she might be trying to give her a second trigger right now, or like thinking that that's like a possibility. I don't
And this
know.
is kind of like the situation where she got her first trigger event, which was uh when Victoria was hurt in a cape fight.
Yeah. So kind of similar where it's like a family member. Um So one of Bonesaw's mechanical spiders jumps onto Mark and inserts a syringe up his nose and presumably into his brain. And this is a win-win for Bonesaw because either Amy gets past the mental block or she's responsible for Mark's death.
Mark getting poked
So
in the
like,
brain is a win-win, actually.
yeah. Um, but Amy climbs onto Mark and lays hands on his face. And she fixes his brain just like that. Like she goes through the thought process of all the things that she's fixing. It was clearly never an incompetency problem. Like Victoria implies that like it's something that she should be practicing, but Amy's power like
She
clearly
kind of
does
gets
not need
worse with
practice.
time a lot of times, though.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think that her power just works naturally and then like anything that's a problem is like because of mm, misunderstandings about what she's doing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she heals him, and she feels the sense that she's opening a door that she can't shut, just like with the letter about Marquis. So that's good though, because she's got backup now when Marquis, Jesus, Mark comes to and springs into action. He flings an orb towards Bonesaw that gets intercepted by Hack Job and knocks them both down.
It was.
But
I think it
Hack
was
Job,
clearly like destructive enough that it would have injured Bonesaw, despite how tough she is as a character.
yeah,
Like it seemed like it was a big explosion.
I think he was probably going for the kill,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
which I would have done in this situation. I think that he, because she like moves his hands like in front of him so that he starts using his power like she's indicating, but I don't know if he like right when he like is healed like has a great gauge of what's going on. But I mean, if he like caught a glimpse of Bonesaw, it's like an actual kill on sight like situation for most hero capes.
I think she
Should
can
be all
tap
hero capes.
into his emotions enough through sensing his biology that she can tell that he's ready for the action.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, unfortunately, Hackjob has Oni Lee's power, and he starts duplicating and teleporting all over the place. They do some skirmishing. Um, do they? Does Bonesaw leave? I think I like
Yeah,
missed what exactly.
Bonesaw just leaves considering this successful.
Yeah. Because really all she was doing was letting her know that she's been nominated. So Bonesaw leaves, and they Mark Mercy kills Murder Rat, and he says, "Rest in peace, Mouse Protector," which is just really sweet, but like also so sad. And he doesn't say. I mean, maybe he doesn't know the other person that's in there. I guess he knows
She's like
Mouse
a
Protector
famous
because she.
person, but like she's not like someone he would have known, I don't think, cuz she
Yeah.
was in the first class of wards, so she's like a similar age to him, but I got the
Uh-huh.
impression she like lived in New York.
Okay, yeah. But in the wake of this, Amy apologizes to Mark for taking so long to fix him, but he just thanks her. And Mark's gonna call the rest of the family, and they're gonna flee the house, obviously, because uh, they're gonna come back. So Amy's like, okay, I'm gonna go pack now. But when she's in her room, she leaves a goodbye note and climbs out the window. Whoa.
When you open a door you can't shut, God climbs out a window.
God climbs out a window. So unfortunately, this plan is very short-lived because Victoria catches her outside. She's like flying around or whatever. um, and Victoria asks about why she healed Mark now. And she can't give an explanation, and she's like clearly running away. Like Victoria's like, what the fuck is all of this? It's like a real shit show that she just stepped into. And if you remember, she did just watch somebody get super murdered by Siberian.
That's true too.
Like she just watched Siberian like stick her fingers into some guy's eyes and like pull them out or whatever, and then left immediately. So Victoria suggests a therapist, but Amy's like, my problems are too real for therapy. Um, and Victoria starts ranting at her. She doesn't understand what's like been happening since the bank robbery, and after Gallant's death, Amy distanced herself even further. Now she's just been like letting her dad suffer when she clearly could have healed him the whole time. But Amy just tells Victoria that she found out she's actually Marquis's daughter, which is only answer like that happened like 30 minutes ago, so that doesn't really explain any of her actions.
Well, I think that's one of the problems is that for Amy herself and for people dealing with Amy is that like she'll incorporate new information and then act like it was always on the table. Like basically, she
Yeah,
doesn't seem to have like a good like grasp on sequences of events in her like.
no, I don't think she's able to like look back and understand how she was feeling like before she had certain knowledge or experiences, which like a lot of people have that problem to like different degrees.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, I'm Marquis's daughter, and Victoria tries to reassure her that she's Carol and Mark's daughter, and that even if she doesn't feel love from them, like she loves her. So Amy protests as Victoria pulls her in for a hug and tells her that they're gonna figure it out as a family, even if that family is just the two of them. Do you want to read this quote?
Like a flame at the end of a long fuse leading to a stick of dynamite, her power traveled from the side of Victoria's neck to her brain. It was barely a conscious action on Amy's part. Barely a conscious action.
Really, it just happened, you know. So, Victoria notices that something was changed and immediately pushes away. It's like crazy that I mean, it must have been so jarring or whatever, but that she's like so in tune with her emotions that she immediately notices. It's not like, you know, it's not like a couple of minutes later. It like just happened.
Well, the other thing is that that I think based on the couple times where Taylor when it happens that you can feel when she's using her power on you, like just always.
Hmm. That's
That's
true. She does feel when like she's in there doing biology stuff. But yeah, they both start flipping out. Victoria is angry, confused, and repulsed, and Amy is desperately asking for her to let her undo what she did, and this has been like what she's been afraid of this whole time. So, as Amy explains that Victoria has been all she's had for so long, Victoria realizes that Amy has feelings for her, and that Amy flipped a switch in her brain to make her reciprocate. Ah, Amy.
I like how you wrote it here.
I can't yell. Amy.
Yeah.
It's like a David.
Okay.
Um just so stupid. Come on. And this is why everybody hates me because I'm an Amy stan. So we'll just finish this up. Victoria won't let Amy touch her again to fix it, and she says that she'll find somebody else to fix it. And I pulled this quote here. You can't. Oh fuck. You're underestimating what I did. Please, if you never ever give me anything else, if you never talk to me or look at me again, just let me fix this. But Victoria does not. She lets Amy know that she's just surpassed the work of her own father, Marquis, and she flies away.
Damn. Yeah.
Yep.
So, Amy, your favorite character to crush on, your second favorite character we got to see last chapter, and
Mhm.
her, his lovely sister. Um, and then who's your third favorite? Oh yeah. Colin, your third favorite boyfriend. We got
Oh
to
yeah.
see last time you were on the show. This is just nothing
Mhm.
but hits for you.
I know this is nothing but hits.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, I don't love what happens in this chapter. I don't love the decisions that were made.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's at
um,
least good.
yeah, yeah, that part's good. Listen, Amy did do one thing wrong. Okay.
I'd like to
And it
hear
was
in your words what it is.
it was reading that mail that was on Carol's nightstand.
Right. She shouldn't have done that. That set off
She
the
really
whole
should.
set of events.
She really shouldn't have done that. It's gonna cause a lot of problems between her and Carol and like trust and stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So, I mean, we can get into the. Oh, you have arc stuff written.
Yeah, so we end the arc on what I think is the best chapter of the set. It's a great perspective. Like Amy's one of the all timer characters for
Yeah.
Parahumans. She's like really important to it. I'd say that she's up there, nearly on the level of like Tattletale. It's like we got like Taylor and Victoria, and then like Tattletale and Amy, kinda, and then a few other people thrown in there, you know.
Hmm.
But yeah. And then we also have a good villain to fit with the horror movie premise, like another all timer, Bonesaw. Like people always talk about Bonesaw when they're talking about this series. It's like, oh, the
Yeah.
crazy thing, because like there's a bunch of Frankenstein's in this chapter. We get
Yeah.
to see three distinct Frankenstein's.
I don't
Um,
think that's what they're called. They're called bone saws.
Bonesaws.
Hmm.
We got to see three Bonesaws in this, as well as Bonesaw's inventor. Um, and then, in addition to that, we see robot spiders, and the scariest thing of all, a child. Um, I think that Bonesaw might be better at the whole Jack breaking people thing than Jack is.
Yep.
And we get to see the intentional and unintentional effects the Nine have just by being around. And then, topping off all this other great stuff, we have the interaction between Amy and Victoria, which I think has even bigger story reverberations than the Theo Jack thing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Vale left a couple comments. Nobody who loves Taylor can say a negative thing about anyone else loving other characters.
yeah.
No. Listen, listen. There's not to throw Amy under the bus here.
She does worse stuff than Taylor does, in my
But
opinion.
in my opinion, there's worse things than murder. And so, if I mean Taylor does other things other than spoilers, murder, but everyone's gonna murder in this book.
You gotta.
Vale says Taylor does way, way, way worse things than Amy does. I would love when we come upon those Taylor scenes. You let me know. But Bill said my favorite non-Taylor is somebody whose name starts with K and word. Same. I love, love Kenzie. And Bonesaw just rocks every scene that she's in. Greg says, I think I'd still judge somebody whose favorite character is like a Hook Wolf. Yeah, if Hook Wolf was like entertaining or cool in any way, you'd be like, oh, that's a little sus. But like at this point, it's like, no, it's totally unreasonable to have your favorite be Hook Wolf.
Yeah. Yeah. But I think we can jump down to the characters, and I just put Amy at the top for this chapter, obviously.
Amy.
Amy.
So this chapter we get the huge reveal that Amy is a lesbian. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. When you listen to the like we've got worm like chapter analysis of this one,
Oh
that's
my
like the
god.
first thing that Scott says. He's like, whoa, so we found out that Amy is a lesbian. That is not what we found in this chapter.
That's
um
one incidental thing we found out.
I was thinking I want to re-listen to that episode and see if I'm like overblowing like what he says, but it comes off as in like the thing that's more upsetting
Well, not
is
upsetting
that
because he's pro there
no,
being.
I know, but upsetting to Victoria.
Oh
Like
yeah.
he's like, "Oh, well, Victoria just found out she's gay." And that is not what she found out at all. Wait, hold up. Amy's a lesbian? Yeah, I know, right? But yeah, Amy has some serious problems. She kind of goes into it. She talks about like growing up and feeling really disconnected from her parents. Mark, I feel like I know he has problems or whatever, but it's a little bit unfair. Not that like she can't feel like love from him, but like Mark clearly loves her. Um just from their like very brief interactions this chapter, like while he was like partially comatose or whatever, he still obviously had positive feelings for her. And then the first thing he does is thank her when she heals him, and it's not at all
Thank
resentful the way
you.
that yeah, like thanks for finally da, 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 da. No, it's like not at all resentful. It's like totally genuine, and I don't know. Maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but it does seem like she's discounting like what Mark has done for her, like as a father.
Well, she's like character that we see flashbacks from in Ward Dauntless, where he can't see it even when people around him do care for him, and by he in this case I mean Amy can't see it
Yep.
even when people do uh, feel genuine familial love for her.
Yep. Um. Yeah. So she kind of explains that like the only connection that she had in her entire life was Victoria, and some wires got twisted. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
um. Yeah.
Well,
So
I think
so
she
she's in.
she did have like a really like uh like a super adverse childhood where like she started off with like seemingly poor single mother who then developed cancer and had an even harder life until she died, turning him over to a new guardian who, as much as he may have been her real dad, is like an unknown person to her, who she
Mhm.
now lives with. And then she had a good time with that for a while, and then was turned over to yet more unknown people. Um,
Yeah. Do I blame Curl for all of this? Kind of.
all of it.
I mean, I think it was really irresponsible taking in a child they that they basically knew that she didn't want and couldn't have affection for or whatever, but whatever. Well, she was like pretty young at the time, wasn't she? They were like probably
I
like
don't.
25.
No, they were
No,
younger.
older.
They were younger. Well, maybe they were 25. Cause okay, that might actually be right. Cause if she was like 7 and they had Victoria like young, I think she might have been 17 when she was pregnant with Victoria.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I guess they might have been 25. I guess I thought they were even a little younger than that, but
Yeah, but they're like around that, so they're around my age. Like, I don't know, they were going through a lot, and it is true that like I think we'll see later. They were really concerned because they knew she was going to have power, so they didn't just want to turn her over to like the foster care system because she's a second generation Cape, and they thought it would be best for her to be raised in a Cape family or whatever. So I don't know. There's a lot of factors going into it, but in response, she made the personal decision that if she never ever affected brains with her power, that she would be safe from doing the thing that she doesn't want to do but feels like she will.
yeah, it's weird because she kind of once her main barrier is broken down, and I obviously get that it's a bad night for her, but she makes other decisions later that kind of show that this is not a one-off
Yeah.
like event. It's just it doesn't take that much for her to make the leap from I have the ability to do this thing to circumvent everything and get what I want,
Mhm.
and I'm going to do it because I can't do it. It really
Mhm.
doesn't take a lot to get her to that point.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she has like really bad self-control issues, and like the only way to
I think
to
she
limit
definitely
it.
does.
Yeah, and the only way to limit it is to put these like really hard stop rules in place, but that's like just not doable for her situation.
Yeah, as soon as she breaks one, she's just like spiraling and she doesn't know what to do without the like previous structure, and
Yeah.
it's like a shame-based spiral where the fact that she's messing up makes it easier and easier to keep messing up.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
Other things about Amy. She
Mm,
says she wanted to fix it.
yeah. I I don't even know what she would have done if she touched her again. Like
I don't know.
I really don't, because she never thinks to herself, "I'm gonna do this to Victoria." In the later scenes, it seems like she's always convinced that she's just gonna do like whatever one thing, and then she'll be fine. And she never does that. She always
I
makes
wonder
these impulsive decisions at the last
I wonder
second.
if it's like an intrusive thought situation where because her power is so like it's just like instinctive and just kind of like naturally happens or whatever, like she always thinks like what's the worst thing I could do right now? Like what would make me the most horrible person? And then it just like happens. And she's not able to ever backtrack on it because of the shame that she's feeling, like it gets really like worse and worse every time. And then, like
A
you
lot of
said, she's
times
just
she
kind of
does little
spiraling.
things to try to cover up her actions, but it
Yeah.
almost always makes things spiral worse. Like the cover ups generally aren't very good, and if she's at cover up mode, she's already like too fucked up to successfully cover anything up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. Amy, make better choices.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I put Marquis. We don't really see Marquis in this chapter per se, but
hmm
we see a letter from him, and we know as readers, the astute readers reading along know that Marquis was lying, and that he, in fact, did not actually kill Allfather's daughter, but that
hmm
was a ruse, a sock ruse, to get
It was a ruse to get,
Dragon
I don't
to.
know, to get that letter sent, I guess.
I mean, that's the claim later in the book.
Yeah.
Also, like, he has his whole code thing, and I think that it was probably recorded that he killed whoever, Iron Rain, I think, who is all.
Yeah, Dragon goes like and checks their files and it does say that he did it.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, I'm semi convinced that Marquis, in fact, did not kill Iron Rain. But
No, I think it's the same thing. Like, if he had, I don't know, if he was like Amy and he had done that thing, I think that it would have, like, the rule would have fallen away completely. I don't think that he killed her.
right, yeah, yeah, I agree. Um,
Um,
and then do you want to
uh,
say other stuff about Marquis while we're on it?
no,
Okay.
I think he's like I think he's Hispanic. That was the only other thing. Even though
Hmm.
they will never say that, but that just makes sense to me.
Well, Taylor sees him and she's like, he's a hot dad, but she at no point
Yeah.
is like, he's not white. So I don't know.
Yeah, true.
But then again, this is woke Taylor from 2 years later,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
she's way less
When
focused on
she's woke,
race.
she does not mention people's skin color
As the first fucking thing that she ever thinks of.
before she mentions even their gender or anything.
Yeah, yeah. Um. Carol. Oh man, talk about
Uh,
problematic faves. I love Carol. She's so
oh,
crazy.
Carol. She's so crazy. Okay, so she first of all didn't ever want to adopt Amy and said that in a place where Amy could overhear her,
And did over
which
here.
is she did overhear her pretty bad. And she's clearly like she's had like this cold resentment towards Amy since the Leviathan attack where Mark got injured. It seems like she doesn't like talk to her or try to like address these issues with her in the same way that Victoria is. Um and like I think that like whatever love or affection that she had for Amy in the first place has like completely fallen away. Like that's just the vibe. I don't know. They don't really say that, but that's like the vibe that I get because it's like Victoria still clearly loves Amy. Like she's like flipping out at her and then Amy's like, "Oh my God, I learned this terrible news." And Victoria's like, "We're going to get through this together as a family."
Yeah, yeah.
Like whatever like anger and a resentment that she feels towards her is just like on top of like the love that she has for her. But I think that for Carol, it's like it's gone. Like she does not fucking care about this kid.
Yeah. And it like vacillates over the course of the story in a way that I think is like pretty realistic, and like Carol is all in her personal life is always a step behind everything. She's always doing the wrong thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um like almost start to finish. Like it's pretty impressive almost.
Yeah. Carol is she's like the pinnacle of like a cold Karen mother.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I hope the family figures things out. Who's the last one? Well, we talked about Mark quite a bit. Do you have anything else to mention about him?
Oh, for Mark, I guess not anything new. I do think he's great. And I think he's utilized really well in Ward.
Hmm.
Spoilers, Mark is in Ward.
Well, Mark's still
Whoa.
alive?
Amy's a lesbian? Um
Amy's a lesbian?
so yeah, I don't know. We'll talk about him as he comes up.
Yep.
Um
And then as far as Victoria goes, she's she's quite upset with Amy. She at one point, I think, when Amy says that she's not going to be able to get it repaired, Victoria's like, well, at least I have some fucking restraint and can get over it.
yeah.
Which is like, I don't think it's like entirely accurate because it was like, it seems like whatever she changed in her brain was like, it wasn't just flipping her like sisterly love or whatever the way that she explains it. Like I think she was pushing the like exact same feelings that she has for Victoria into her. That's what it comes off as,
Yeah, yeah, I
which are
agree.
which are clearly like they've grown into something like pretty monstrous
Yeah,
because of
well
like
I think
all the other problems she has.
it's like it's probably like a really like powerful, obsessive, and probably sexual thing. So
Hmm.
it's like, probably a big shock to suddenly happen to you.
Yeah,
So
quite startling. So she's very upset, seemingly like totally done with Amy because she basically says like, well, everything I ever thought about you and ever defended you for was completely wrong and you've proven me wrong and you're way worse than your dad.
yeah,
And
I
like
mean,
that could be just like an emotional outburst, but I don't think so. I think like that's like that's it. Like their entire she feels like not only so betrayed by like the initial situation, the fact that like their entire relationship has been like one-sided to some extent, like she's been being tricked into thinking that she was her sister and that they had like this familial relationship and was being basically like this information was being restricted from her, I guess.
mhm.
Um but also the fact that she acted on it.
Right, right, yeah. I mean, it's it's as crushing as Tattletale said it would be. Um,
Yep.
and then, but it's worse because she like used her power on her.
Yep.
Um, it's yeah, I don't know. I think that Victoria would be prone to like she would be prone to outbursts and stuff normally, and like this being maybe the worst betrayal that she's ever felt. Um,
Yep.
it's
Pretty bad. And it's like it was like already a bad time. Like I said, like she'd just been like coming out of like a pretty heinous battle. And then I mean, like emotions are high because she found out that her dad was healed. And then, what was I gonna say? Shoot.
And the house
I
was
don't remember.
destroyed.
Vale said, one thing I can say about Amy, I appreciate how much worse she is at asking someone out on a date than I ever was. Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Awkward queen.
Um, do we want to talk about these two categories real quick before we're moving on?
Oh yeah, Bonesaw. See, I totally forget that she's in this chapter because like the weight of the chapter is kind of all towards the bottom, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bonesaw slaps. She's in her she's
She's
doing
all
the same thing as
smiley.
Cherish.
She just loves she is doing the same thing as Cherish but better. She's like clearly surpassed Jack already, even if nobody's gonna come out and say it.
Yeah, like she single-handedly, I guess it's like Tattletale was the set and Bonesaw was the spike, but like if you didn't even know that the ball was there to spike, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like she does just single-handedly demolish Amy in like a matter of minutes.
And the thing is,
Um,
she's so targeted. She like immediately like locks in on an idea, and if she finds that something else might be a better angle, she just starts in on that,
yep.
and like she's just like keeps maneuvering, and she's like, "Oh, like I got one more little tiny piece of information from you. Well, I'm gonna extrapolate the next like couple like bad things I do to you off that."
Hmm. Yeah. Bonesaw really wants a big sister, and she thought Amy would be a good choice for whatever reason. It's really funny because like you think that like, oh, maybe she just like doesn't understand the situation, like to choose this sister out of all the sisters in town. But later we actually see Bonesaw interacting with another person who like it's like seemingly like a pedophile where he's like interested in her and she's like, this is my best friend. And
Right.
like nothing ever happens between them, but she just like seemingly like does not give a shit about any of that stuff.
And it is something I hadn't considered until you said it just now. But like Bonesaw is picking the sister fucker as the big sister material.
No, she is. Like, that's what's so stupid. Like, I mean, not stupid, but I guess it's ironic. It would be ironic if she didn't know, but she does know because Cherish fucking told her. Like,
And that's part
I
of
don't.
what she's trying to like get her to break on.
Yeah, yeah. So Bonesaw has some really weird boundaries. I don't think that she's clearly not interested in Amy in any way, but I think that she feels like she wants somebody who feels super super strongly about her, like in the way that Amy feels super super strongly about Victoria, and it doesn't really matter to her like how that happened.
Right, right, yeah.
So
Um
Bonsai's pretty fucked up.
yeah, yeah. And then I wanted to bring up the other characters because like um Ravager had hired the Slaughterhouse Nine to kill Mouse Protector, and then they put them together. And, like,
Yeah.
so Ravager is, stuck with, the person she hates the most forever, and, like, this probably seemingly pretty good, like, genuine hero is stuck in this, like, worse than death torture state.
Way worse than death. It's
Yeah.
also interesting because Amy compares the way that they're like alive inside to the way that Mark's alive inside, which like makes her and Bonesaw come off as more similar because she's not like directly putting Mark in this situation, but it's like
In
a
a
by
way, it
proxy.
feels like she's trapping him because she's always there and always could be healing him.
She's always there and she's so cognizant of how trapped in there that he is because she like checks up on him quite often with her power. And,
Yeah.
I don't actually think Bonesaw and Amy are similar, but
But
that
Amy
doesn't
thinks
exactly
that they're
help her
similar.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even think like she and Marquis are that similar. I mean, like maybe things will be different later on, but like it's like
She's
a
more like a twisted Taylor than anybody.
yeah, she's very similar to Taylor, but if Taylor failed at every like boundary that she pushed, um which I guess speaks on like Taylor's incredible luck, but definitely some of it is just able to make the right judgment calls instead of a judgment call.
Because of their
Um,
two backgrounds, like Taylor is more able to she's more sturdy in everything that she does in her like opinions and stuff, and she's
mhm.
able to assert herself in a way without having to um like Amy has to kind of go crazy to assert herself, and then when she does, like she loses like all rationality, so like she can't function well.
Yeah, like she'll get into her like when Amy is confident, she's typically not able to see past her own opinion, but when she's confident and can't see past her own opinion and has incredibly strong superpowers, it's kind of a disaster.
Right, right, yeah.
Recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, the thing with Mouse Protector, did you want to talk about, we talked about Pagoda
Oh,
and
it
then
was
Hack
interesting
Job.
how one of the guys who was in Pagoda, if I remember right, thought that he was a reincarnation of Jesus. Um
Oh God.
yeah, the one on top was Prophet, convinced he was Jesus reborn. What do you call a mix of people like that? And the
That's
bottom
funny.
one was Carnal, healer, tough, and healed more by bathing himself in blood. Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, nothing worse than becoming a Bonesaw creation.
It's
Pretty
pretty
bad.
bad. She talks about some of the ones later that we'll like talk about as we get to them, but they're like, oh boy, whew.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah, fate way worse than death. And it does give us some better context as to why Burn Scar was like, I can't leave.
Yeah,
You know what happens if I leave? They turn me into a mashup. And it's like always the like
yeah. It's gonna be
whatever
an
mashup
ironic
they think is
pun.
yeah, whatever mashup they think is most ironic. Like the worst one here is definitely the O'Neilly and Hatchet Face. Like that's just a like she says, it's a hack job. I guess maybe that's the joke.
Well, I think it was really difficult to do specifically because of Hatchet Face's power.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, it did have to be remotely done, but I don't think like that's too big of an impediment. It's the idea of like you need to have him be able to negate powers, but not the lump on his back somehow.
Yeah, she had to make them into uh the same entity, which kind of gets into the powers knowledge section. Do we want to just review all this? We do get some like huge drops in this
Yeah,
chapter about like how the powers work. And uh I don't think that Bonesaw's entirely right because she can only see what's happening like in the actual body or the brain or whatever.
and only like
But it
on
is
our plane. I think that it feels like we learn so much, but we actually kind of have like a limited picture of it at this point.
it is a good foundation to everything.
Yeah, she describes the trigger event, and I should have pulled that stuff out, but let's see it.
I have it here.
Okay.
So she says it happens so she's talking in reference to people that have specific things that they can affect. Like Jack is a great example of that. So she says it happens because the powers connect us in the moments we have our trigger events, decrypt our brains, and search for something in the world that they can connect to that loosely correlate with how the powers were originally supposed to work. In those 1 to 8 seconds it takes our power to work, our powers go into overdrive. It picks up all the necessary details about those things, like people or fish or computers, sometimes reaching across the whole world to do it. Then it starts condensing down until there's a power set, stripping away everything it doesn't need to make that power work. So that's like, like she says that as if like this is how the entirety of the powers work. This is like one aspect of how the powers work, like how they're able to say like I'm Jack Slash and I make blades extend or whatever, like infinitely. Um, but that's how the power knows that like what is a blade and how can I limit the power to like this one specific thing.
And it's able to do some like pretty complex categorization and stuff, but it is operating with like a more powerful than we can kind of imagine computer behind it. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
So then she goes in to explain basically the Manton effect, which we've heard about quite a bit. It figures out how to function with us. It protects us from all the ways our power might hurt us that we can anticipate because there's no point if it kills us. It connects us with our emotional state at the time the powers came together because that's the context it builds everything else in. So it's like this is her explaining like I know you can work on brains because you are able to work on humans and the power knows that the brain is part of the human body. I guess is like technically her explanation.
yeah, I guess it is. She says that in a pretty roundabout way, but it is
Yeah.
for us, the audience.
Yeah. Um so she and her bringing up the like it connects us with our emotional state at the time the powers came together because that's the context it builds everything else on does kind of lead me to believe that maybe she was going for a second trigger with Amy.
Yeah, yeah, like that's part of what I'm thinking. Like she has really pretty good knowledge of what causes both trigger events and second triggers. And
Hmm.
I feel like she's probably one of the most knowledgeable people like currently around on that
Hmm.
subject. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know, a lot of good information about how the powers work and stuff.
Yeah. And we saw the mechanical spiders, which we'll see a whole bunch for the rest of the Slaughterhouse 9 stuff.
Hmm.
Um let me think. Oh yeah, I sort of wanted to think if we could figure out the chronological order of the chapters, and um so it must have the Bonesaw chapter has to be after the Jack chapter. So
Right.
um the
So Theo is before Amy, and then we know that the Amy chapter is happening right before the Siberian.
right, so that is the Rachel, and then we know that the fires across town happened before the Cherish chapter. So
Hmm.
on its own separate thread, we've got um L and then um Cherish, I guess. And
Yeah.
then I don't know. I guess I can't order the other ones much better than that. The call-in one probably happens pretty early. I would guess it
Yeah, I
happens.
I kind of was under the assumption that the call-in one happens first, even though there's no information on that. I guess just because Dragon is like, well, we think that they're in town to recruit or
Hmm.
whatever. So
Yeah, and she would have known when the Dallins got attacked. So
let's say the call-in one is happening at the same time as the crawler one, the Noel. I
yeah.
feel like that would
Uh,
happen. So those are happening kind of around the same time. Probably that's happening at the same time as the Oni Lee Theo stuff. Like those could all be happening. And
I
then
was even thinking
the
L could be happening at the same time.
yeah, so those could all have been at the same time. And then uh we know that
What do you,
Amy and Rachel are happening at the same time, so that could be Cherish as well.
yeah. And then the we're missing one. Hook Wolf has to happen daytime, so I guess like the next day
The next day. It could be because we don't hear
or
anything
the day
about.
before.
the havoc that yeah, maybe it would be the
Oh
day
wait, no,
before
no, no.
because
Actually, it has to be earlier because now that I think about it, what's his name? In the Dinah chapter, Coil is like
uh
Mike Person's dad.
oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So,
So I think this is basically three tiers. It's Hookwolf, and then we got Colin, Dinah, Theo, L, and then we got Amy, Rachel, Cherish.
perfect.
We did it. And then
Yay.
let's see here. I did have a few things I wrote on the um things of the powers knowledge. I did think it was like really crazy that they could actually combine two people and express multiple power sets. Um,
Mhm.
and then I said it's as bananas from a power standpoint as it is from a crimes against humanity standpoint.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is the first time we see evidence that you can manipulate people's powers with like whatever, with brain or body manipulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good to know. Very interesting. I hope nothing comes of that.
Yeah. Did we talk about these chats Greg had said about Murder Rat Together Forever? Vale had said Bonesaw was probably bad at coloring inside the lines too. All the horror.
Oh God.
Greg said Bonesaw's a Parahumans DJ dropping dope remixes. Yep, yep.
Yeah, she sure does.
Um, wanted to jump to the Arc 11.x wrap up where I said I had a roller coaster with this arc. I think I started out with higher expectations, then felt kind of let down. I think the chapters are fine, and I know some of the ones I don't like very much are some of Vale's favorites, so they clearly do work for other people. But also, I just think I judge the set harsher because of the Hookwolf chapter. Um, and I did listen to the more recent audiobook as well, and I
hmm
did jump into that part on 11E. I was like, I wonder if they did anything different, and I was like, oh nope, they said
Nope.
it. Wow. But
Yeah.
then I said, overall, this half arc does a lot of great setup work for the three arcs to come. We get a great sense for the different members of the antagonist team. We have a good introduction to their powers, personalities, some plot threads to hang on to, either directly tied to the Nine or another aspect of some side character we saw. And then with arc, just like with arc 9, the focus is not on Skitter, but unlike that arc, they never end up even dipping the toes back in the water as far as showing her crossing paths with people or being a cameo. I
hmm
think she might get mentioned in some small way, but like not for current action, but for past things.
Yeah, I think the only person who mentions her is Bitch when she's thinking
Oh
about
yeah,
how
yeah,
she betrays her or whatever.
for sure. But that totally makes sense in the moment of the character, so it's not like
Yeah.
yeah. Um, and then yeah, that's all I had to say about that. I guess I didn't have a big arc wrap up, but I felt like I talked about it a lot during the other weeks too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I love it. I think that I think that for some people it's hard to like step away from our hero Taylor for so long, but like I think it's worth it a lot of the time, even if it is hard. Like I remember listening to this arc the the first time, and I was looking at the YouTube comments, and there was somebody asking like, hey, can you guys tell me if it's okay if I just skip this arc? And I was like, how the fuck could you say that?
There's so much world information and like the amount of dramatic
So
irony that
much.
is built up in these eight
Oh my
chapters
god.
is just huge.
So
Like,
much information. Like if you want to only know exactly what Taylor knows, then fine, go for it. But like that, it was just a crazy ask to me because they'd like clearly started listening to it and they were like, annoyed and bored that they weren't hanging out with Taylor and
Yeah.
wanted
I
to.
Listen, I have done, just to see what it would be like, I have done on my like sixth read through or something, it was a Taylor only read through, but the problem is it starts getting really muddy in the back half when she's like in the chapters. She's like in most of the interludes, you know?
Uh-huh.
And you like kind of can't skip them if your idea is to keep an eyeball on Taylor. And
Yeah.
um I mean, you lose both of the Golem chapters. Uh,
Yeah. How could you? How could you? Oh my God.
yeah, and like a no interludes read would just be like, what's happening
Yeah.
near the end.
Yeah. And I can imagine like it would just be way too like it's one thing when the characters are confused during these Slaughterhouse 9 chapters, but like to not know at all what's going on and just like riding it with the characters is just I don't know. It's an interesting choice.
Yeah, like not having any idea of like Mannequin's personality or
Oh, and not
Burnscar's
even
personality
knowing
when you're
what
in arc
happened.
12 would be really
Yeah,
bizarre.
and not even knowing what happened between Victoria and Amy. And then you just like see Amy and she's like, "Guys, I fucked up." And like she doesn't tell anyone like specifically what she does. They
Actually,
figure out from context.
that would be like a weird, interesting perspective to like
Yeah.
truly not have that knowledge, and then
Oh
like
my
the
God.
next time you see Victoria, she's in like the fire suit, and you're like, wait, why are they dressed all weird? And then she's like raging out about Amy.
Yeah, and then there's another like huge plot point between Amy and Victoria that the Undersiders don't know about, and everybody blames them later, and they're like, "What the fuck are you even talking about?" Like they like people just like I feel like they keep referencing like, "Well, ever since what you guys made Amy do to Victoria," and they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
We'd be
You'd
as
be like,
confused as
exactly.
Taylor.
You'd be just as much just as confused as Taylor. It's so funny, like how much random shit that they get blamed for. That's like totally out. It was totally out of their control. They like barely were involved in a situation.
Yeah, but I mean, they were there, and they are bad. You know, they've got a capital V on their team logo, so V for
Oh my
villain.
god.
You're
V
calling
for
him a big
villain.
vagina.
It's actually S for super villain, but it doesn't really
Ooh.
make any sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I had a quick bonus where I ranked my favorites list on the chapters. So,
Mm.
Hookwolf, Labyrinth, Theo, Cherish, Rachel, Colin, Dinah, Amy, with a distinct line going from uh, well, the three tiers are the Hookwolf tier, the Ellen Theo tier. Oh, I guess it's four. Cherish, Rachel, and then Colin, Dinah, Amy. But Cherish and Rachel are definitely in the good end, and like I think they're. Well, yeah, I'd go back and read them just randomly. I don't care.
Yeah, I think that I think I'd rank the Colin chapter above Dinah's, but I think I
Mm.
have a similar ranking. I just like, I mean, I think I like that chapter more because like of him starting his revival arc. Thank God. But like Dinah isn't really going anywhere for a while.
Yeah, I like Dinah and I like Sundancer a lot, and I mean
Yeah,
we see Sundancer, but we hardly ever get to really see Sundancer because
yeah.
Taylor's emotions are, I don't know.
She's like, Sundancer didn't even smile at me every time
That
she
little
sees her.
bitch didn't kill anyone for me.
She's like, oh, she's such a big baby during the. I mean, she was totally a big baby during that fight, but then when, like, she's like, huh, I wonder why Sundancer is making that face at me right after she scoops out, Lung's eyes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Sundancer does not want to be friends with her anymore.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's too bad.
Yeah, I do like the chapter because the Dinah chapter, especially because you get to see some interaction between the travelers. You get more details into what's going on with Novell.
Oh yeah, you didn't get to talk about Kraus, your actual third boyfriend.
Oh yeah. I mean he was a real piece of shit that chapter, to be honest. I mean,
TBH.
it's like I don't even blame him for the things that he was doing, but he was not being very like tactful or like empathetic about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he
yeah,
was like, I need to ask this question." There was not enough remorse.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Vale says
Uh
these chapters overall do wonderful character building and prepare the next multiple arcs for slinging story or just through slinging story. I love them all for that, even the ones I find distasteful to read. Yeah.
yeah.
Um. Yeah. Do you have any more things you want to say before we move on to audience participation?
No, go for it.
So, we've got 11 G and H. If you were a cape, what do you think would be your crutch slash Achilles heel? What would either emotionally or physically completely halt your ability to use your power or act? And starting with the answers on the Discord, we've got a little back and forth. 2 plus 4 times 5 says, I have moderately severe I haven't said it out loud before, trypophobia, but I don't know how that would come up for me as a cape. And trypophobia is a fear of small, irregular shaped holes or just holes where they aren't supposed to be holes.
Mhm.
Seeing a trypophobia trigger ruins my day. Apparently, it's surprisingly common phobia, possibly because humans evolved a fear of rotting food. And then
Mm.
you had said back, if you want to do your own lines.
I said that I have the opposite of trypophobia.
Yeah,
I don't remember exactly what I said, but I do remember their reaction.
yeah. Um,
Yeah.
and then 2
It's
plus 4
like
times
I
5
didn't
says, what the fuck?
Yeah, what the fuck? Listen, I mean, it depends because when you throw the irregular in there, some people have trypophobia with just like any like repeated like holes or texture or whatever. But if you add the irregular in there, I do agree that it makes it more distressing.
Hmm, hmm.
Yeah.
I
Um
I don't think it affects me. I'm not sure though. I just have never felt this feeling that's been described, but that's okay. Um,
um Yale's calling you out. I've noticed I make you stumble reading my comments most of the time. Is there a weird writing style or anything like that? Genuinely curious, not bothered by it.
I think you do write in a style that kind of clashes with how I read things, but
Yeah, I
it's
don't I don't
fine.
think it's I don't think it's a problem with your writing style. I think it's just that it's less compatible with the way that you typically speak out loud.
Yeah, yeah,
No, I wouldn't worry about it. I can read all of Vale's comments.
yeah,
I'll and then if I'm not guesting, then I'll just rephrase Vale's comments in um in a
yeah.
different in a different sentence structure.
You're gonna referee all speech from Vale.
Yeah.
You are
Just for
not
Vale.
allowed to read it. Anyway, um, so I had said about the trypophobia that I've known people with that, and also with the weird fear of not being able to see the bottom of a body of water. Um, and yeah, I've seen the fears manifest into a way where like you can't walk across grates in a city street. Um,
Mhm.
and so like that could be a real thing if you were a cape in Seattle and you had that thing where you're like, I will not go over grates. Like,
Yeah, you can only well, that's what I was thinking about they're like there's a character in Ward or whatever who just never goes indoors.
yeah,
And it's never even clear if it's a power limitation or if it's a personal limitation.
Yeah,
um,
I don't
so
know, but it just seems like it's almost like it could be explained in so many ways because it's convenient for him to not go indoors anyway. But they do have
yeah,
like that specially set up patio on the roof of like the villain bar for him too, because he's like a
yeah,
high ranking member and everything of their.
yeah. He's just such a regular there that
Yeah,
they put like a patio on the roof.
yeah. Um, but yeah, so we didn't get any more answer, or no, we did get more answers. I was just scrolled in a weird way where I was at the. It looked like I was at the exact bottom of the page, like.
Mm.
Anyway,
Mhm.
Vale's answer. My take on a power that can't be used. Oh, wait, you're gonna read Vale's stuff.
Oh my gosh, let me go find it. Sorry. Audience participation.
No, Vale,
Oh
I
my
did
gosh.
the thing.
I get it. I
Oh,
write weird. No. Vale, you write perfectly. I'm gonna read it without stumbling once. My take on a power that can't be used. Halt the ability to use or act. If it was me personally, it would be anxiety, but I don't want to make an anxiety cape. That would be so depressing. That's how I was feeling about Mind Veil. I was like, because I don't know, I've been like so excited about my character and stuff, but then every time I'm like, there's like an opportunity to talk about it, I'm like, maybe we shouldn't talk about this. Um, okay, so this is an OC, where their power is activated when blood touches them. They turn into a murderous beast. Thinker 3, Changer 6, Bloodbath. They wear latex head to toe, not because they want to or like it, but to stay safe. Any blood touches them for any reason and they change. The spot where the blood touches ripples out, flowing like a wave on a pond, and their skin sloughs off, revealing a razor-like covering of blades made of bone. They become super fast, tough, strong, Changer 6, and gain precise and clear visualized insight into the movement or trajectory of every living thing within their line of sight. Thinker 3. There is a reasoned and reasonable imperative. Everything has to die. A thoughtful frenzy ensues. A thoughtful frenzy. Okay. They return to themselves eventually when all the blood has dried. The bone blades slough off, revealing the person beneath, their skin reformed as soft as a baby, with their hair wispy and new. They can't be on a team, can't be a hero, can't be rogue, can't use their power without a body count. When they change, their personality becomes one with that thoughtful predator. When they change back, the predator slips away. I do like when the powers are like a uh, a character of their own. Because when you wrote thoughtful, I was thinking thoughtless at first, um, like it was just completely instinctive kind of thing.
yeah, but it would be more like kind of the well, I can't talk about it because spoilers. But it reminds me of a
Spoilers.
character and their, let's say, projection power. So, um,
Uh, Vale says I wanted to make someone who couldn't act. It's only part of the ask, but went for it. No, for sure, it's very good. I love I love reading these OCs because they're so like I don't know, like the world is so expansive or whatever that all of them will just always fit.
yeah. And like the turnover rate on capes in a given area is probably quite high. So,
Mhm.
multiply that onto the vastness of the world.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Greg said Thoughtful Rampage is my band name. And Vale loves the band name, so yeah, yeah. I think I would get. It depends on what power I have, really. I've thought more about like the OC that I wrote, and I like that power, and I like that OC, and
Mhm.
stuff. But I'm not sure if that's
If it's the
if
one.
it's the
You
one.
know, I hear that when you know, you know. So if you don't know, then
Then I don't
you don't
know.
know.
Yeah, exactly. So uh, if I had a power that's more direct than that, which like that power is very indirect, but if I had a power that's in any way direct, I would probably suffer with overcommitting to stuff like kind of like if you remember Rachel in the train yards in Arc 16 when she just keeps saying like we've got to stay cuz like I've almost beaten that thing and like
Hmm.
they she's just compelled to keep fighting. So,
Yeah. She just needs to like bail the situation.
yeah. We've almost
Yeah.
won.
We almost won. And Taylor, like the whole time, it's like, I don't understand why Rachel hasn't beaten this robot yet. Like, Taylor, stop being a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, we got a Veil comment for you.
Oh, thanks. By the way, Vic, you read my post brilliantly. Thank you. I tried my best. I have to, I think the thing about reading, writing, where the sentences aren't always just like a basic structure, if you're reading it aloud specifically, is that you kind of have to read ahead where your voice is at. Um, and I've like known people who can do that really well, and I've always been really impressed with them. So I try my best, but
I'll
definitely
do
not able
my
to do that
best
as much
to
as
do
others.
it more, but I can't read super fast, unfortunately. I have like
Yeah. Yeah, the
problems.
thing is you need to do that, you need to be able to read with your eyes faster than you're vocalizing it, and then you have to like memorize what's happening on the page or whatever.
Hmm, hmm.
I'm gonna use my write my next post using Kirk commas.
Yeah, yeah. That gives me a lot of time to read ahead with those Kirk commas there. It's hard to
Hmm.
know how to punctuate it exactly. You're like, should I just put like three commas where it's a comma ellipsis?
Man, that always throws me off about. Well, that's the thing is I stutter way more reading Wildbow's writing out loud because he does punctuation like way differently than I would do it, and he doesn't use a fucking Oxford comma, and it throws me off every time.
Okay,
Like
so the
every time
Oxford comma thing I can't justify. That
I cannot justify not using an Oxford comma in any way.
but the other stuff, the other weirdness that he does really allow my brain to understand how long and short the sentences and like the structure are supposed to be. Like I think
Hmm.
Ward especially because that's the one I've read all of with my eyeballs because I was reading it as it came out. I thought he was by that point really good at like putting the paragraph structure and like the clipped like hyphens and like different ways of breaking things up to do like
Yeah.
really specific amounts of time or like ways people talk over each other.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If only he figured out the Oxford comma.
Mm-hmm.
Have perfect punctuation.
He did figure out though is that I don't, as far as I know, I don't think there's a single good girl in Ward.
I was
We've
about to say when
escaped
you
it.
said what he did figure out is that nobody likes being called good girl except for people like furries, maybe. Furries, but only in very specific contexts.
Well, also Scarlett's whole audience.
Okay, but that's different. Bill said it is such a small concept that carries so much weight. Yeah. I hope you're talking about the good girls rather than the Oxford commas.
Yeah.
Because that could apply to either. Um,
Do you have an
do you have
answer
it?
for the for this bit?
Uh,
It's fine to say no.
the, I mean, the thing is, it's like not to be like too personal or whatever, but my specific problems that like led me to write my character or whatever have significantly decreased due to finally finding a good medication for me. So that's the thing is if I were a cape, I wouldn't be able to like go on anti-anxiety or antidepressants because it would fuck my power.
Yeah, well, one of the
Um,
things I was thinking is like all the most likely things for my power are kind of like less a part of my life now than they were at like the teenage years when you're likely to like get powers. Like
yeah.
just a lot of the like ways that I was and like thought and acted and stuff are all so different now that it's like, well, that is still true that that's probably what my power would be, but
Yeah. It would still be, especially if like, you're like, because you think of like Danny, he's like a well-adjusted adult that would have, when he was younger, been like a great cape or whatever, but he would not, he probably wouldn't be anymore. Like, there's a reason he didn't trigger.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Hmm.
But yeah, like any kind of uh like same thing that Vale was saying about having their power be around anxiety. Like it's less fun to talk about, but like that's probably the thing is like if I was able to I've luckily been able to improve my problems, but it would be like a huge inhibitor if I had like some kind of, because I totally meet people like that in real life where they will go on medication and they'll lose some aspect of themselves that they think is like really important. Like artists a lot of the time will lose creativity or lose certain aspects of their art, and like that's like a real struggle for them. And I feel like it's probably really similar in like Cape society.
Right, yeah, because if you're changing the way that you think, then your powers don't channel right.
Yep.
Yeah. Hmm. Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, I don't have a lot more to say on that. I think I want to read the question for next week. It's going to be for 12.2. Do you think there's a better way the Undersiders could have acted in the meeting to advance their goals? And I mean, like, this is one of those broad questions where your answer could be, like, what your strategy would be coming into it. Like, that's something Vic had
Mm-hmm.
brought up that I thought was a good idea. So, go wild.
Yeah, go
Um,
crazy.
Vale said something.
Well, this seems personal, but yeah, they just are mentioning that it's like hard to talk about triggers or whatever because they're like way too personal and sad. And like all it's fun when it's the characters. I agree. It's like, oh, these are so fun. I want to make my own. And then you make it and then you're like, actually, this is kind of depressing.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, but no, it's fun. We'll get to a point where we can all share our powers and stuff and it won't be too sad.
Yeah. I'm hoping to have the questions be a little less focused in the future on like chapter stuff like this
Hmm.
like question, and more the thing that David asked last time of like the one we just went through the answers on. Um
Yeah,
cuz
something that like thematically aligns but less like a direct
yeah.
chapter question.
And I
Yeah.
really liked a couple times ago I had one about making up a power, like a thinker power, and I think people had a good time just making some
Hmm.
basic little answers to that.
Yeah.
And that could be fun. I think the problem is that me and you, a lot of the powers we think of, I'm trying to stray away from this, but they're like all mental powers. Like not
Oh my God,
almost
they're
never
always
physical
mental
aspects.
powers.
Yeah.
There's never, for me, there's absolutely never a physical aspect because I don't give a shit about those.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm listening to like Victoria use her power and ward, I'm like, "Ugh, okay."
Man, she's so good though. Oh,
She is
she's
great,
so
but
good at it.
it's like to me like physical powers are, I don't know. But maybe that can be our my challenge in a couple weeks or something, is thinking of an actual like physically related power.
And I wanted to think of more like trigger events that could happen from physical problems, because like I had thought of there's like one weird physical power I had thought of once that had to do with a time that I had fallen off the back of a ski mountain and had to just like mechanically, slowly, really rote way, like move my way up the
Yeah.
side of the mountain. And like I just feel like that would make a really good power, like a slow, very powerful, like rote thing that it's easy to get out of the way, but let's say the target is a stationary building. Well, I'll get there
Mhm.
eventually.
Vale said by the end of this series, the questions will just be therapy. We'll have to do by the end of Worm, the questions are just therapy, and that'll get us ready for Ward.
Yeah.
Pre-group therapy.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
going to start reading the links real quick. Is there any last things people want to say?
No, go for it.
Okay. So, we will be hearing again the music from ScarlettXOX, both versions of Infestation, the opening version, and then the full version that I'll be playing in just a moment. And you can go to twitch.tv/Scarlet_Rogue. Our Discord server link, along with all the others, can be found in the stream notes as well as the channel notes. And then the author of the work being discussed can be supported at patreon.com/wildbow. The full text of the work is available at parahumans.wordpress.com, and there is also a fan-made audiobook of the entire work, audioworm.rain-online.org. We got a thanks as always from Vale. Thank you for being here, Vale. And
Thanks.
thank you, Greg, for being here as well. It's always good to have the participants to, bounce things off of.
Yeah.
But let's start up that end music and raise the volume a little. And then I'm going to cut my mic and say goodbye, Victoria, because I don't know yet how to keep talking to you without it being over the stream. Bye!
Bye. Bye.